A German state premier is stepping down just a day after being controversially elected with the help of far-right extremists. Thomas Kemmerich from the business-friendly Free Democrats won the vote in the eastern state of Thuringia with the backing of the far-right Alternative for Germany and Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative CDU party. The Chancellor has described the election as unforgivable. Kemmerich says his resignation was inevitable to remove the stain of the far-right's involvement. And joining me now from Frankfurt is Michele Friedman, a lawyer, journalist and political analyst. Welcome to you. Now, we're already seeing political fallout from this, with the Free Democrats now saying that they want to dissolve the state parliament. What would that mean?
It means that we had seen and participated on a political earthquake. It was the first time, a premiere after World War II, that with the votes of the Liberals and the Conservative parties, but the participation of the right far extremist movement AfD in Thuringia, where the leader is somebody who we can call a fascist, and which are tremendously racist, that with these votes somebody was elected being a prime minister of one of the countries. And today the reaction was very clear. We have a serious damage of political culture in Germany. This premiere is a disaster for the political culture in this country, and it is also a disaster taking in consideration that last week, the 27th of January, we had the commemoration of the liberation of the camp 70 years after, and a week later, a party like the AfD, which is a a party which is known being also a party with anti-Semitic point of views, was deciding who is now a new elected prime minister. So today the actual situation changed. The prime minister resigned, but the damage will be a damage far more than this day we had to talk about.
Well, talking about this day, over the course of one day, we've seen the FDP completely turn its back on the AfD. So why doesn't the governing CDU party position itself similarly clearly?
The CDU is in a huge discussion in the Eastern German countries, and there are parts in this party who are asking why is it impossible, why it is not allowed, not officially to be in a coalition with the right extremist parties, but to have a certain daily experience of working together, and whatever this means, under the level of a coalition. And this conflict explodes during the elections yesterday, and we have to be very clear on that. The leader of the party, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, was very, very strong, very clear, and said never ever the CDU wants to work with the AfD. And also here the CSU from Bavaria was very clear. But there will be discussions after yesterday, and these discussions are also very necessary. We see in Europe, in Hungary, in Poland, we had this experience, the former government in Austria. We know that the movements in France of the right extremist parties, the so-called illiberal democracy parties, that these parties are increasingly winning votes. And in Germany, we have the first time the same question in one of the countries. And we saw also in Germany, the situation has to be cleared by all the other democratic parties. It was a very bad day yesterday for German democracy, and there was a clear participation from the FDP, the Liberals, and the CDU.
Mm-hmm. All right, Michele Friedman in Frankfurt, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
This has been a hugely controversial story here in Germany, and DW's Joel Delray has been looking into all of the reactions on social media for us. Hi, Joel. Tell us what you've been seeing.
Well, the reaction has been really stunned and surprised and sad that this could have happened at all. And it's been resonating right across Europe on online social media. So the hashtag AFDP was trending. Now, that is a combination of the two party names, AfD and FDP. We see the same in this merging of the party logos here. There was a video meme that really got quite a lot of popularity, and that was of the local left party leader, Susanne Henning, congratulating the temporary state premier, Thomas Kemmerich, by dumping flowers at his feet. Now, she's being compared to Nancy Pelosi in the US, who's famous for her takedowns of Donald Trump. There were a few voices who were speaking out in defence of this election outcome. Now, this one was a post from the FDP federal member Wolfgang Kubicki saying what the Constitution allows shouldn't be discredited. He and a few others were pointing out that the result was achieved democratically, even if tactically.
We heard as well, Joel, that there are comparisons really being drawn here to the darkest chapter in German history. Tell us more about that.
Well, Thuringia is the state where the Nazis first came to power in any meaningful way. They were given ministerial positions in 1930 as a result of a collaboration with liberal parties. And so yesterday we started seeing images being shared comparing the photo taken here of the state leader Kemmerich shaking hands with AfD leader Björn Höcke. And that was being compared with the picture from 1933 of Adolf Hitler with then German President Paul von Hindenburg, who was the man who appointed him Chancellor in 1933, even though the Nazis were only a minor party at the time. There's also an image these images have been doing the rounds, and of course the situation has changed a bit now. But we did see this image here of the party leader Kemmerich. He was standing in front of his own election billboard saying, "A skinhead who hasn't ignored his history." So back then he presumably meant that he's a good kind of skinhead, but it took on a whole new meaning after this election because he was, of course, given the post of premier thanks to the votes of a party whose leader is now being called by some a Nazi.
All right, and what are some of the reactions that you've been seeing beyond Germany, across Europe?
Well, one of the people who shared these Hitler images across Europe was Guy Verhofstadt, who was until recently the leader of the European alliance that included the FDP. Now, Guy Verhofstadt tweeted this. He said, "What happened in Thuringia is totally unacceptable. My response, not in our name." To which a Green Party spokeswoman responded that he should consider expelling the FDP from the European Parliamentary Group. So, of course, the situation is now changing very quickly on the ground. We're not sure what the outcome's going to be. But whatever it is really quite clear that serious damage has been done to multiple German political institutions.
All right, DW's Joel Delroy bringing us the debate online. Thank you very much.